Hello, today you find me in the workshop, and today what I'm going to do is convert this box into a coffee table. Now it needs some work. It's an old GPO box which has seen better days, but I'm going to convert it into a coffee table, come sort of chest of it. So as you can see, it's damp, a bit wet, needs work. First of all, rub it all down. I've taken the hardware off. The only hardware is these little handles that fit on the side, and I'm going to take you through as I gradually work through it and get it all sorted. Hopefully there's no woodworm that I can see. I can see one little hole there which I think I'll have to sort out, but that may be a nail. I think it's a nail hole. So yeah, so I'm going to get on with this and get it rubbed down. So let's make a start by rubbing it down. First thing I need to do is get all this mopping off. This grime, and this is about somewhere between 1938 and 1960. It used to be a GPO battery box, the wet cell battery box, which I picked up at a scrapyard, salvage yard, and it cost me a couple of quid. So let's turn it into a sort of coffee table. Now the first thing I need to do is get all this off, and that means giving it a good go with the wire brush, I think. It's important to try and get as much of the years of grime and that off as possible. Get the old top layer off, and at least down to the level where I can get the things looking reasonable. I'm going to go over this with a brown with natural wax, so it'll bring back this dark colour, which is the original colour. So that should do that side of it. It's important to get these edges rounded off a little bit so that they're not as bad. The edges from the corner there, along here. That means we get rid of any little splinters that may be there. Once you've been over the wire brush, it doesn't take much to get the rest of the surface down to where you want it. So you can see the thing. I'll come back to you in a minute once I've done the two sides and the two ends, because I'm sure you don't want to spend the next hour watching me just laboriously wire brush and sand down the rest of it. I'll come back when I get to the bottom and I'll show you the damage on the bottom. Right, well I've now come to the base. Now as you can see, it's been drilled through, left all this rough stuff here, which I'll see if I can cut away. So I'll try cutting some of that away first. So I'm just going to use a Stanley knife. Just gradually go around it, get the worst of it away. Nice sharp blade you need for this. When you use Stanley knives, always make sure your blade is nice and sharp. A sharp blade with anything is better than a dull one. You won't have accidents. And always be careful. And if you're not sure, or you're a bit uncertain, we have a good pair of thick gloves that will stop you cutting yourself, or at least stop you cutting yourself too much. In the shed, it's about 1 degree outside at the moment with snow. Bo's in his bed over there, he's been fast asleep for a while now. I've got the portable gas heater on and the kettle going, so getting nice and warm in here now. Let's have a go at the base here. We'll get the outside stuff as normal first, get the edges. Nice old spot-headed brass screws in here, so it's nice to see them. When you're revamping something, resalvaging, try to use the screws that were used originally. If it's slot-headed screws, then use slot-headed screws. Try not to replace with posses or anything. It's not the same. It doesn't give it that proper finish. We want it to be as it was originally, but revamped. So use screws that are the right ones for it. If you haven't got any, then buy some and use the screws, slot heads that are right for it. Now, what I tend to do is keep screws, nails, anything I salvage, take apart and such. I keep the screws, a whole range of different screws in there. A lot of these are salvaged. You can see some of them, you know, but they're all usable. That's the main thing. And I've got a screw for most courses here. I also do the same with some of the nails. I tend to keep some of the nails because sometimes the nails are not exactly what you can get properly. Just up a little bit more in the base here. Just over these holes. Right, as you can see, I use a sanding block. My first sanding block is just sanding paper. Sandpaper tends to fall off of the blocks, it falls apart. These sanding blocks are perfect. Because I'm using a wire brush, I use this little brass wire brush to do it. It doesn't cause any major problems. I wouldn't use a main wire brush because it just digs in too much. You want something much finer like one of these. But I'm at any hardware shop, DIY. I know as you use a sanding block, I use it's not a fine, but it's you know, fine-ish. So that's all I need to use. And there again, use it along the edges to just get rid of any bits that might cause splinters along the edges. just have to round it off a bit and make it look a lot nicer. I don't want to improve the character too much. I want it to still have character. Now this is going to need drying, a lot more drying yet. But I want to do this before I take it indoors. It won't dry anymore out in the shed. It's just not dry enough. As you can see, it's still quite damp here. So I'm going to put the feet on. I've got hairpins for the feet. And get them on. And have a go at getting it dry. Now the inside is going to cause me a lot more problems. So what I need first is this. A knife to get rid of the edges here, and this is really going to have to be left until it's dried out completely. I will turn this along first then. Over here on the top. And once it's fully dry, I can then work on it, the rest of it. That's my wire brushes. This is this sort of wire brush. It takes off some of the rubbish that you find. The sides, the normal side, I've got a bit of damage due to the acid bottles that I used to have in. This was the battery bottles. Even when GPO post office, which then became phone side, became the telephone company. Even when they went on to fully electric, we still use these for a while as a backup in the exchanges, etc. So these are around. A lot of them have turned into toolboxes, etc. So it's nice to use them something else now. With mine, I intend using it putting bottles of wet taxidermy specimens in. Make sure you go around the edges. The last thing you want is to open a box, catch your hand as you put your hand in on any little splinters that may be around the edge. As I say, I'm just going to do this properly inside here. I can sort it out completely when it's dry, and then I'll wax the whole thing. But yes, get it into the warm where it's going to dry a lot quicker. No way it's going to dry off in here properly. So let me see what we can do now. Right. as I said, I don't want to make it perfect. I want the haze to it. But what I do want to do is get this so it's cleaned off and looking tidy. I'll just go get a brush. Right, so that's the box all wire brushed and sanded down, giving it a smooth surface. I've wiped it down as well. So yeah, so it's now going to be ready for first the polish. So I'm going to use a dry wax teak polish, which is going to be dark enough for this. So as long as it's a dark polish, doesn't matter whether it's, you know, whether it's oak or teak or whatever it is, but use a natural wax polish. It makes it a lot better, look a lot nicer. Now these are something I've not used before, so I'm hoping that they're going to work. At the moment they're looking like they're a little bit too big, which is a shame, but I may be able to actually give them a bit of a quirky look by doing that. That would give them a bit of a quirky look, wouldn't it? And I think that's would most probably be okay. Let's have a look at these screws. I think the screws may be too big. Yeah, they're going to be too long, unfortunately. So I better see what I've got in my screw cupboard. Right. Now, these just about be big enough, just be about right. Yeah, I think. I'll just have another check of these just to make sure. Yeah, there's not a lot in it actually, but these are going to stick through a little bit more. The only thing I could do would be to put another layer in the bottom, just to. I might be able to put some of that in there. I've got some MDF with a felt covered top. Yeah, that may be okay, because I want to put this for wet specimens, so it would be, I think, okay for what I want. There needs to be the right screws which are big enough and strong enough that I'll hold everything in place. Let me see what we can do here first. Right, so we're going to have a go. I always do the two outside ones first, making sure that it's all okay round. Right. Yeah. I think 3 will be enough. I do. I'm going to go to the other end. That's all to the camera. So I'm going to come to this end and do the same up here. And yes, these are slot heads, not slot heads, posits, no. But they're underneath, they don't show, so they're fine. I just need 3 of them. Now this is where you can increase your screw supply. If I only need 3, that'll give me 8 in total. So I'm only using 3 rather than the 5. So that should give me 2 on each, which will leave me 8. They go in my screw jar when I don't lose the screws. Like I did just then, to go for something else. Do make sure you keep your screws. Don't lose any of them. I've thrown them away, the ones you take off, because they're all more than usable. Now here, as I'm doing what I'm doing here, I'm going to line it up there, put the corner one in first. Not put it all the way in, just enough. I'm going to do this one. One thing which was the biggest breakthrough in any DIY was an electric screwdriver. It makes life so much easier, and they're so affordable nowadays. This one is not expensive. This is a Sabre, which is a very cheap one. I think I got it from the range, and it's done me many years now. The last one was a B&Q one. It was a B&Q Zone. I can't remember the actual name of it, but it was when they used to do their own range, which was a different name than I think they do now. But that lasted me getting on for 20 years. I always go for an 18 volt because that means that, I mean, you can use them for, you know, for drilling holes and a whole range of different things. But 18 volt gives a bit more power. You're not overworking the power, the power, the motor inside, and all in all, they last a lot longer. So at the moment, we'll see whether or not this is going to work when I stand it up. So turn it round, stand it up, and it does. And it looks quite quirky like that. Yeah, lift the top up. That's great. I'm going to take that inside, put it by a radiator, but not too close, just enough to let that dry off. Leave the top open, let it dry off inside. You can see inside is now done, but it's wet, so it needs drying off, and we'll go from there. So I'll come back to you in a moment. Right, well that's that now ready, just in time, because the bottle of gas in the heater is just about to run out, I think. And it'll save me having to go and get another bottle of gas out of the house and warm the bottle up first, because otherwise the gas doesn't run properly, and put it in. So let's just show you what I've got here. So this is the gas heater. As you can see it's working just, but it's running out of gas. The cooker for my kettle and that, nice to make soups. And here's a finished project. So it will need a clasp here, a brass clasp with a clip there. And I say once it's dried out fully inside, which it needs to do, as you can see, it needs work on the inside, then I can bring it back out and get it all polished off, get the brass clips on. I'll wire brush these handles. They will then go back onto there once they've been wire brushed, and then I'll give the whole lot a good coat of the polish. So I'll bring you back when I'm about to finish. Right, hello. Right, we're back at the GPO telephone box. As I said, I've done a bit more research on it, and it seems to be about 1953-54. It was a wet cell box, which was the acid electric cells were in glass bottles, which sat inside. Then were connected up to two little terminals that were here. Unfortunately, the terminals are not here. I might be able to find a pair of terminals to go there in the end, just to give it that look again, but we'll have to see. Now, unfortunately, the filming, the phone didn't pick up the filming. Don't ask me why, it just didn't do it when I was waxing the box. So the box is now waxed, but I used the Britax teak coloured wax, and there's all the cloth inside. Now, the cloth, always keep a cloth inside. Alright, that cloth is absolutely impregnated with wax, and it actually saves you, because it saves you money, because the cloth is so impregnated, you don't have to use so much wax. Now, one thing you do need to use though, here's gloves, because do you want your hands to look like this? What's the old saying, hands that do dishes? Well, hands that do wax polishing turn out like this, and it takes quite a bit to get it off, and even then, when you've got it off, you can still feel the wax in the pores. I use an old tea towel because it seems to be the best thing. If you use them little yellow dusters, you get yellow duster fibres all over the place. Use a tea towel. You know, they don't leave fibres. That's why they're tea towels, for washing up. Use tea towels. Once you've waxed it, then you need to give it a really good polishing all over. Leave it for, I normally leave it for about half an hour to let it dry in, or thereabouts, and then I go over and I then get the whole lot polished up. Do the handles, wax them, it protects them, and make sure you get that wax in everywhere. Work it really well in. And don't forget to do the underside as well. Very important doing the underside. All you need to do from now on is, when you're doing your housework, don't use the silicone spray wax on it. To me, they're one of the worst waxes you can buy. If you're going to wax it again, use the same wax. You can use a clear one this time. You can get them in different shades. I would personally use a clear one on that to re-wax, but that's not going to be re-waxing for quite some time. It's still drying out on the inside. Done around the edges here with the wax, so that from the outside everything was nice and uniform. The inside, as I say, the top is dried out. There's still some damp on the inside, but I'll just leave it by the radiator, down near the radiator, not against the radiator, but near the radiator, about 2 to 3 feet away, with the top open, and that will gradually dry out. No problem. I won't wax the inside. That's the last thing I want to do. That can stay as it is. That lets it breathe from the inside out. But yes, I think it looks good. Now what I'm going to go and do now is get a couple of clips. I was going to use an iron hook, which is what the original was, but personally I think if I can make them fit, I'll use a couple of clasp ones on there. It'll be better, and I think it'll look better, 2 brass ones. They're off of a 1950s Singer radio, so they'll fit in with this nicely. The age and the colour will do really well with this, and then this is basically ready to go once the inside's finished drying. Now, when you do this sort of furniture, are you going to do it to sell it? Are you going to do it to keep it? If you're going to do it to sell it, make sure it's completely bone dry. Make sure that all the edges are nice and smooth. You've sanded them all down, given it all a really nice feeling. So when you actually feel it, you actually like it. It's actually saying, yes, this is really nice furniture. It needs handling. You know, furniture, to keep this polish glowing, it needs the wear. It needs a handling. Don't be frightened to handle it. Don't be frightened to polish it. And don't be frightened to touch it. You can't do any harm. What you do need to watch is if you're going to put anything on it, which is hot or anything else, get yourself some little coasters. Make sure you use some coasters. Once you put a hot cup or hot plate on to wood, you get those horrible white rings. They are absolute nightmares to get out. Absolute nightmares because you can't cover them over. No matter what you do, they are going to be there for a long, long time. And if you're going to sand them down, it takes a lot of sanding to get rid of them because it goes down deep. So to keep it like this, use coasters. So that's the finished product there for the moment. All done, all round. Make, you know, when you polish the hinges. It will give them that nice antique look back again because you remember you rubbed them down. The handles, you know, by repolishing the handles with the wax, you're putting the patina back because you haven't taken the patina out. You've only just, all you've done with the handles is use the copper wire brush. Don't sand them, just use a copper wire brush. It just takes the worst off. Now, polishing them with wax or sealing, if there is a little bit of rust left there, that seals it, stops you getting into it. The wax can't grow, or shouldn't be able to grow. But you can keep a watch on it, and you may want to re-wax it every so often just to do that. If it does start showing that the wax has got, the rust has grown, take them off, re-sand it down, give them a good waxing, put them back on, they'll be fine. As you can see here, we've still got a bit of bulging here, but that's only because it's still finishing drying off completely. That once that's dried off, that'll all go back. No problem at all. I'm not worried about that, to be honest. This is going to go in my lounge, and it's going to be in the centre all I want it for is to put the coaster on, so when I have a cup of tea or coffee, I can have a cup of tea or coffee and not have to worry about where I'm going to put it. As you can see, this end is no problem at all. It's sealed down nicely. The inside is coming up nicely, so it's drying off. So yes, all okay. So I'm going to go and get the catches, and I'll be back with you shortly. Right, so I'm on the final bit now, so it's now a case of putting the catches onto the box. Now the catches, as I say, come off of a 1950s record player. That's the catches there. They'll match this nicely because they've got the right look of age. They've got a nice, brass patina there. So to get these on, I'm going to bring you over. So let's bring you over so that you can try and tilt you down, so you can see what I'm about to do. Right, there you go. So now I want it 6 inches. Now the best way of doing it is to keep them together, and I want them 6 inches like that from the edge, from there. So that means I want it just there. So I'm going to take this one, put into the end there. Now, along here it's nice and level, so I've got no problems there. So I'm going to put the first screw into here. This will keep it in the right place at least. They're quite tiny little brass screws, so don't over tighten them, and try and keep the slots all in the same direction. Now some people like to have the slots facing that way. I like it facing that way, so it's on all of them. And then just have a look, make sure that it looks level. So I'll just get the ruler, do that. 6 there, yeah, that's no problem. So I then go one there, and I go one here. Now I use this little hole there. I've got one here. This is a screw-in one, but it's way too big for this little job. I just want something just to make a hole big enough to get the screw started. Trying to get screws started without that, especially screws this small, is quite a nightmare. It's even with that hole, it's once you get them started okay, but getting them started is the main thing. And there you are, that's going crossways, so that's okay. And don't put them so far down that you bare the top of the screw. No worse than having sharp tops of screws because you force them down too low. I do them so they're just hand tight. That's plenty. That's here we go. I've already done the other one. It's, as you can see, getting them with screws this small, getting it started is a bit of a nightmare. Now, because this is still a bit bowed, I need to push that in tight to get this one to line up properly. And we'll go there. So I get the first screw in on this one. This is why they invented posi drives, etc., because it's a lot easier than slots. Slots, your screwdriver does tend to come out. There's plenty on that one. Now just line that one up a bit and make the hole. This will help to straighten out the top as well once these are on. Then I have to clamp it all down. The top is naturally wanting to pull away. So it's naturally wanting to draw the screw in another direction. Unfortunately, I haven't got my big clamp, which would go over here, my furniture clamp. It's been lent out elsewhere. But that's in. So give them a wipe. And let's have a look. Yeah. I'm going to bring you back over and show you what it looks like when it's stood up. Bring it forward again. So there. We'll stand it up. And I think it's now looking quite good. So I'm just going to take you off of the stand. So excuse me for the moment while I do that. And I'll turn you see it. We can go round and look at it properly. So there we are. The wax brings up the screws and the brass hinges. Really nice. And these legs, I'm quite happy with these hairpin legs. They're quite retro. They match up quite nicely. The handles, they're showing the right amount of wear, but they're waxed, so therefore that will stop any rust getting in. I say it needs the 2 pins here. If I can find something that will do that, the right thing, but it's going to be very difficult. And I think it had some misend, but as they're both the same both ends, it doesn't look too bad, so I'm not too worried. And the catches, yes, I think the catches are looking good. So they just pop down like that, and the top opens, and so you can get inside, and then bring it back, clip the handle there, and there you are. I'll say that will help to bring it down. You're never going to get it perfect. It's, 1953, 54, so what's that? Best part of 70 years old. I'm 71, so, I don't feel the best at my age, and I'm sure that this is holding up, must be better than I am actually. So yes, so there's a finished item, and I'll now put that back so that it can carry on drying out and open the top so it can carry on drying out, and then it will end up in my lounge. So until next time, if you like, please subscribe and hit the like button. If you have any comments, please give any comments. I will answer them, and see you next time. Thank you for watching.